Hey y'all, it's Miriam and welcome to part 2 of painting this portrait. Now, when we left off at the end of part 1, we left off here. So we're gonna go back in time and I'm gonna take you through the whole process just like we did in part 1. Now, if you guys have any questions, let me know. And as always, thank you to everyone over on Patreon. These videos wouldn't be possible without you guys, so thank you very much. All right, let's start painting. All right, so what you've seen me do is just work on another layer of the hands. You can see everything here is still really rough. So I'm just going in and let me show you the colors that I'm using because it's a really simple palette to create some really nice skin tones, or at least skin tones that match, you know, this grayed out kind of look. So as I mentioned, the paint here is already dry and this is all the paint that I've used. I'm not using any thinner or medium at this stage. I'm just using the paint straight as it is. So we've got Cad Orange, Craplax Rose, Cremants White, Old Holland Gray Warm, and this one is, I believe this is Viridian Green. Let me just verify that real quick. Okay, let me just... Oh, actually, I'm sorry, it's Hooker's Green. Okay, so that's what we're using for this, is Hooker's Green. And I've just mixed a little tiny bit of each of these into this kind of fleshy color, and I'm just slowly putting it on here. I mentioned in a previous video, I really love the green and red combo for creating shadows, and they create really good transitional kind of transitional colors, okay? I saw the creation and why I chose these colors. It was just kind of chaotic, right? But then once I have the colors and I want to unify them, then I'll start to bring those background colors into the skin, okay? To try and unify them. So you can see a lot of the shadows match the background, and it's just a nice unifying thing. So I'm gonna get you guys up close for a while because I want you to see that this is still really rough, and you're just gonna see me work on the hands. I'm gonna show you guys a lot of real-time and time-lapse footage. So just like in part 1, if you want to fast forward, skip, you know, please feel free to do so. I won't be offended. But I did want to show, I want to make sure to include enough real-time footage for you guys, because one of the biggest skills that I've had to learn in the past few years is patience. I am somebody that thrives on quick results, and I like to get to the finish line as fast as possible. And learning how to render well has really been a challenge for me, and it's something that I'm still working towards. And just learning how to sit in the space of that, if that makes sense, like learning how to be okay with slow progress, learning how to have the patience to do that, where, you know, it might take me a week to do some hands, and that's, you know, other artists might be a lot faster with that. And whereas before I used to be able to get a portrait done in a day, you know, so this is a big kind of switch for me, really trying to take my time and do this. All right, so now let's get back to what's on the screen. I'm starting to add in some color. You guys know I love that Craplax Rose color. I think it's so fleshy, especially it works so well in fingers, nose, ears. It's semi-transparent, but it still has a lot of those like kind of fun qualities, like I feel like vermilion does. It's just a really wonderful color to have in your palette. And again, when you pair it with the green, it just, I feel like it makes really nice transitional tones. So that's what you guys can see me doing here. I'm just going to keep working at it. I'm using my round brush. As I mentioned in part 1, I've really been loving these round brushes lately. And yeah, I'll stop talking and let you guys just watch. All right, so as I get into the arms, I'm using the same colors and I'm following the same principle as I did for the hands. Now, I showed you guys the close-up of those hands and the arms. It's rough, it's blocky, it's not smooth at all. And so right now, what I'm thinking in my mind is that that initial kind of layer, all that rough stuff is just a map for me to figure out what colors, what values, what do I need to push, what do I need to pull in terms of saturation, hue, value, everything, right? And I'm really trying to think about the underlying forms underneath. Now, when I'm working in this, I'm almost like the fingers, the hands, the arm right there, we've got a whole lot of cylinders going on. We've got like this boxy part right here, but everything else is like very cylindrical. And so those are the types of things that are going through my mind. And I often have a tendency to overemphasize like the roundness of things, and I like that. But that's because that's what's going through my mind, right? I'm thinking simple shapes. So even this, which working with complex things like fingers and hands, I'm still in my mind just thinking about rendering out simple shapes. Now, when we get into the nose, I do love painting noses. I don't know why. I find a nose a million times easier to paint than like an arm, right? I don't know. It's just one of those things. But again, I'm using those same exact colors. I'm still using the same palette. We've got a lot of that Craplax Rose mixed with the Hooker's Green and then some more of my fleshy tones. And that's how I'm creating all those really smooth transitions there. You can see also that I've pulled out my really teeny tiny brush. And this is probably the only time in the process that you see me pull out the tiny brush, because I feel like even later on in the process, when I start to get into more like glazing or refining, even then I'm using bigger brushes for that. This is really just solidifying the forms in those tiny small areas for me. Now, here's another thing. I mentioned earlier, I'm not going for photorealism. I'm also not going for perfection. And when it comes to portraits, oftentimes uniformity, is that a word? I don't know if that's the word. But like our faces are not perfectly symmetrical. Most people's faces aren't completely symmetrical. And that's what makes us feel human, right? That's one of the things that leads to realism. And so I did struggle with this because I use myself as a reference, and I have, my eyes are not, like, especially when I turn and look, my eyes are not completely symmetrical. And I fought with myself, like, oh, should I fix it? But I was like, no, I'm going to leave them how they are. So those are just things that are going through my mind as I'm painting. So don't feel the pressure to make everything perfect, because oftentimes over correcting, over making everything symmetrical and following the guidelines lessens or dampens the realism of the portrait, because it feels less real. You start to get into like uncanny valley when it comes to that. So yeah. All right, so that leads us to today, and this is where I'm at. Now, I just pulled this off of the rack, one of my drying racks, and I'm taking a good hard look at it before I start. There's a few things that I want to point out. So I mentioned it's been sitting for about a month, so there is some dust on it. I went ahead and gave it a good shakedown, make sure all of that dust was gone. Now with the oil sticks, a lot of this, pretty much all this green and black, you guys saw me do with the oil sticks, they dry. In my opinion, they dry a lot slower than typical paints, which I really enjoy, but that does leave more opportunity for dust. Okay, now the second thing is I want to come up with a game plan. And one of the things that I actually really like about letting it sit for a month before picking it back up is that I've had a lot of time to process this, and I've grown really attached to some of the details that I probably wouldn't have if I were working on it every day straight through until it's finished. So one of the things, I quite like where the hands are. I quite like where the face is. There's, I think, just one, and I'm gonna get you guys up close, a few areas over here, problem areas in the shadows that I wanna address. You guys can see the hair here. This is not white. That's actually really dark, dark brown. That's just sunken in color. And it's making it look white compared to everything else that's not sunken in. So I need to address this, and I'll show you how I deal with sunken in colors. The background and the dress. Do you guys see all this crazy texture going on? And like, you guys saw me just like, I was like, oh, I'm gonna roughen this chair real quick. I actually really like the looseness of it all. I really like that you can see so many of the strokes. I like just the freshness of it all. But I do want it to feel complete. So my plan, and you guys know plans, rarely do my plans ever go exactly according to plan, but I want to tell you what the plan is to start. So this black, I really like the texture of it, but it's a little too unfinished, and especially in here where some of these hand colors, like the skin tones mixed in, it's looking gray, and we don't want that. So my goal is to glaze in a layer of black. I want to keep it semi-transparent, but bring back in all those dark tones, darken this up just a tad, but I still want you to see all the brush strokes and texture through it. The background, I really love the background. I really like all the strokes in it. I like the freshness. I think I want to leave the background as is. And then, again, the chair, I really like, it's like goofy. I know it looks very unfinished, but I don't know, I've grown attached to it. But the chair does need an extra layer. You guys can see here, like that's a fingerprint. That's me putting my finger on this. There's actually 1, 2, 3, me testing it to see if it's dry yet, and it wasn't. So I need to address all of that, and I want to make this border look a little more intentional. But other than that, I don't think I'm gonna do too much else with it. I have a tendency to overwork things, and I'm trying to get better at it. I used to be really good about not overworking my pieces, and in this past year, sorry, my phone is going crazy. Okay, but then this past year, I've just been pushing myself to see like how far I can push things, and I want to try and find the balance more. You guys this is just me spewing what's in my head at the moment. So, okay. All right, so I'm gonna get you close. Here's the face. Let's see if it'll focus. There we go. Okay, so this is that problem area that I was telling you guys about. Like just this here. Like if I didn't have the mouth, I would think that it looks better, but yeah, the color is wrong here. So we're gonna fix that. And then here, look at that, those sunken in colors. That's crazy, right? So we're gonna fix that. And then I'll show you. So this is all, like, I love the texture. And actually, I don't know if you guys remember the shirt that I was wearing had this collar. And so that's what I was trying to do there. Sorry. There's so much contrast in it that my phone has trouble adjusting. Okay, and then here's the hands. I mean, I could go in and, keep rendering these hands. But I kind of like it. I just want to clean up some of these edges. You guys can see this is what I was talking about, some of those gray areas, my fingerprint. So we're just gonna fix, but like, I do like all this. I like the background. So yeah, that's where we're at. All right, so I have you guys zoomed in more on the face. I figured I want to start here with this hair, this really sunken in area, because I think it's going to be fairly easy to address, and it's going to help me when thinking about the values visually in my head. Because one of the things that's tripping me up is because this is almost reading like a white, it's like, it's, you know, it does change the balance of my values in the color when this is all really supposed to be my darkest, some of my darkest darks right there. This is another thing. I've like kind of grown attached to it, and I was even like, oh, that kind of looks cool. Do I want to make it lighter there? But no, I'm going to stick with my original plan. So what I've done is taken some Gamblin solvent-free gel, there we go, or solvent-free fluid, and just mixed a little tiny bit into some burnt umber, and then I took a little bit of this lamp black in there too. So I thought actually I need some more of that. Okay, so now I've got this semi-transparent, really dark color, and I'm just gonna work that. I'm gonna like rough it in, okay? So that's what we're gonna do. Look at how crazy the difference is, all those colors coming back. And I'm just roughing it, I'm gonna rough in this whole area. Oh my gosh, it's looking so different. So let me show you guys where we're at with that. There's a lot of glare going on. Okay, right off the bat, I think the hair is reading a little too red for this. So what I'm gonna do is I took a little bit of, you can see it right there, olive green dark. And I'm gonna mix that into my hair colors. My palette is crazy, I know. But we're gonna try and tone that down a little bit. I'm just gonna mix like the tiniest bit into that glaze. All right, let's inventory where we're at with this. So you can see I went in, just glazed in some of those colors. It really brought it back to life. But when we look at the full thing, like the contrast up here is like so heavy, especially since this black is reading, you know, almost dark gray, you know, reading kind of washed out. I think once we bring this back to life, it'll help unify things. And I knew it. I told you guys beforehand, I was so attached to those sunken in areas. I haven't changed. I might end up changing my mind about the hair because I did like it. I don't know, that's weird. Okay. I told you guys I was kind of attached to it. So I'm going in and just adding in some lighter, and I did make it more grayed out just because I think it was so warm and rich in here. Normally I would make my highlights pretty rich as well, but I think it kind of needs this balance. What do you guys think? Let's see how, I'm trying to picture how these forms would go. I don't want to overdo it. One right there. All right, just to help show the volume. Let me see it. Sometimes it helps to look at it in the screen. Honestly, I know that might look weird, but I think it looks better. I think it helps balance out that crazy shape. Adding that gray in there. That's so weird. That's because I got too attached to the sunken in colors. But I think it works for the better. There is, let me just fix this. Trying to follow the shape of the head as we go back. All right, I like it. I think I'm gonna do that. All right, so now let's add in a darker color here. Again, I really like all this messiness, but I know it's messy and I know it's not. It's like, it just reads incomplete at the moment, but I like the spirit of it. So let's go ahead. I'm gonna use my R&F pigment stick in Lamp Black, just ripping off a new sheet of paper. Don't judge me for using the disposable paper. Do you know how many comments I get about this and from other professional artists? I had someone recently who was like, only students use those. And I was like, well, so do I. Okay, I'm rambling, guys. It's been a while since I've been in front of the camera like this, and yeah, we're rambling. Okay, pigment stick, Lamp Black. They're so messy. I always put a glove on. Okay, so literally this is how simple it is. You know, I have to peel back some of this paper real quick. Oh, I just touched it without a glove on that hand. Okay, let me get another glove. Ugh. That was me trying to reach. I'll cut that out. Okay. Gloves. Okay, let's peel back some of this paper so we can actually get to the oil. Oh, it didn't. Rarely does it peel exactly how I want it to. And rip off some of that casing. I don't cut my pigment sticks. In order to use them and like break the casing, I will just rub it. Look at how messy. Do you guys see I'm like covered in it? Okay, so I'm just gonna take this. There we go. Now I have my black. I'm gonna mix just a tiny bit of medium, like enough that only, like I'm gonna dip my paintbrush in the medium and then mix it into that. That's all the medium that I need. All right, let me put these away. Okay. And we're just gonna use this paintbrush. Okay, sorry, there's a lot going on, guys. All right, so same medium, like that's it. Do you guys see the liquid on the edge of my brush? And I didn't even do this side, really. Like I just dipped it in an angle. Okay, and then I mix it in. You know what? I didn't wipe my brush off beforehand. And we've got a lot of brown tones in that. That's a little too brown for me. Let me see what that looks. Yeah, why did I do that? All right, I'm gonna pause. I'm gonna wipe off my brush. We're gonna redo it. All right, I'm back. Clean brush. And this is actually the same brush that I used for this, so that's great. And just solid black with a little tiny bit. But do you guys see that? Like how it is semi-transparent? That's what I want. So I'm literally just gonna work this in. This is gonna take me forever because I'm like literally just scrubbing this all over. I don't want to change anything other than to like uniformly darken it. Okay, I'm kind of running out already. I greatly underestimated how much paint this was gonna take. Okay, you guys can start to see the difference. I'm gonna put this on time-lapse mode because I don't think that you guys wanna see me do this. So I'm just gonna put it in time-lapse mode and we will do this. All right, this part was one of the most satisfying and one of my most favorite parts of the process, and that was fixing both this problem area here and right here. And you can see all I did was just take that background color and bring it up into those areas. Like I almost completely got rid of this area here. And then I just worked a tiny little bit of flesh color back into it, and it kind of revitalized it, brought it all together, and helped soften the transition between the shadow and the background there. And this is where we're at. This is the end. There's so much contrast, like so many dark darks and so many light lights, that my camera, as you can see, has a really hard time keeping up with it. But I hope you guys enjoyed the process, and I hope you enjoy the painting, and thank you guys so much. I appreciate you guys watching, and I hope that, you know, you were able to get something out of it. So, bye.